Hello, my name is Kene, and today we want to look at some problems that involve using Python, to get the solution. Now, this lesson is actually for students who are in secondary school. You see, the thing is, programming is so important now in solving many of the world's problems, and it is appropriate that we begin to introduce these young boys and girls to programming so that by the time they get to universities, they get to polytechnics, they are already, should I say, they have the foundational knowledge, to excel in advanced programming tasks, right? Okay, so today we will use Python to solve problems and basic problems. The problems very do not require complex algorithms. They are things that one can solve without coming up with very complicated algorithms. This will be useful for schools and ICT clubs. So you want to organize coding competitions, you could benefit from these questions that we'll be solving together in this video. Thank you. So now I'm going to share my screen now, so we have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. All right. Okay, guys. So what do we have here? I'm using the PyCharm editor. So that's what will be, that's the app on which we'll be writing our codes. Okay, so I guess we already know how to use PyCharm, to a significant extent. So I'm not going to go into how to download and install PyCharm. Just can do this yourself, or you get help from the ICT teacher or the IT support in your school or organization. Okay, so we're going to go straight into these problems. Now, as we solve these problems, I will be doing some explanations about about concepts in Python programming. So that will help us. So we're not just going to memorize the syntax. We're not just going to memorize particular words, but we will be using them in solving problems, so that way it registers, it becomes part of you. Okay, so it's geared towards problem solving. Now let's look at a question here. Let's look at this question. Write a Python program which accepts the user's first and last name and prints out the characters in reverse order with a space between the two names. Okay, so we're going to let the user input first name, last name with a space in between, and then we're going to print out that string of characters in reverse order, still maintaining the space between them. Okay, so now let's proceed from there. How do we get input from the user? Now in Python, there's a method called input. So that's the first thing we need to do now. And methods are simply blocks of code methods are blocks of codes that do something. So a method is maybe created to solve just this small problem here. say add two numbers and print out the result. So all the code that is written just for that particular purpose, we can enclose in something called a method, right? So now let's look at it now, guys. I'm going to use the input method, and whatever the user input is stored in a variable. Now, again, I suppose we know what variables are. I like to think of them as containers. They are simply containers that hold values. So a variable is created to hold a value. It could be a number literal, it could be a string literal, whatever it is. It could be a Boolean. So you just create that Boolean there simply has to do with being true or false. So that true or false value can be stored in a Boolean variable. So that's what variables entail. Okay. Now let's continue, guys. I'll create a variable here, my name. Okay, let me use the snake case here. My name. Right, and guys, please, lest I forget, Python makes use of indentation. So there's a hierarchy, and you keep indenting to, show that hierarchy in your order of execution. So please, guys, I have the main method there, and I need to indent whatever it is I will be, I'll be coding afterwards. So my name, and what's my name? I would collect that from the user. So there's a prompt there, enter your first and last names. I could also just say surnames, it all depends. Enter your first and last names. So whatever the user types in is stored in this variable called my name, okay? Now, the next thing, guys, we've collected the user's full name, first name and last name. I now want to maybe, the approach I'm going to use here, the thinking is this. Why don't I go through all the characters of the name, first and last names, and take each of them from the back. So I start from the right, pick one character at a time until I have gone through all the characters. So that's what I'm going to apply here now. And to do that, I'm going to use a loop. Now, a loop is simply a program that repeats something so that at the end of the day, you have gone through a number of times. You've gone through that particular thing a number of times, say 5 times or 6 times, repeating the same thing. So I'm going to use a loop here. But before I do that, guys, I'm going to create some variables that will help us, for example, keep count of the number of times we've used the loop, and also a variable that we'll use to grab the characters from the right, starting from the very last character, and then we move to the left. So we grab one character after the other from the back. So we need that variable that will help us grab the character. I'm going to call that character ch from back, character from back. Don't mind my naming choice there, just follow. Character from back, I will just set that to -1. Now, that -1 shows that if that's the position of that character, the very last character of the name, the full name, the last character can be grabbed using the string, the person's name, in brackets. So I use a bracket now and have -1. So I'm telling the system to take the last character, and I keep, in that loop, I keep moving leftwards. Okay, so let's see now. check from character from back, and then I need a counter, something to help me keep track of how many times I have run through the characters. So I'm going to set that to 1. So I'm beginning from 1. All right. So guys, we use a while loop. We have the for loop and the while loop, for example, in Python. So I'm going to use a while loop. Now, while counter is less than or equal to the length of the string, that is the person's name, the length of the string. So we use the len method to get the length, how many characters make up the string. And remember that I have my name as the string. That's the input by the user. So the length of my name, the length of my name. So provided that counter is less than or equal to the length of my name, then I need to repeat the process. I need to repeat the cycle. That's what this is actually saying. So remember to put your colon, and we'll continue from there. Now, provided counter is less than or equal to the length of my name, do something. I am going to use, okay guys, please, just a moment. I need a bucket, something called a list in Python. It holds, a diverse, a diversity of data types. It could be numbers, it could be strings, it could be, you just name it. So that bucket, that storage is called a list, and it is indexed. So I know what's at position, say 0, because we know that when counting, generally in computers count from 0. So at position 0, there's a value there. At position 1, there's a value there. So we grab those values by using their positions. So I'm going to create a list. So I'm going to just call this name list, and initialize it as an empty list, so there isn't anything in it. And I'm going to use that list now. Grab name list. From my name, I will take the last character from, that's from the back, name list, and a list method called append. So I'm going to append the last character to the empty list that we created. Okay, so my name, and the last character there should be the check from back, or character from back rather. So that's what it is, guys. My name, the last character, that's -1, because you can look at the index either from the beginning or from the back. If I have 1 as the position, that is I'm counting. If I have 0, for example, that is I'm counting from the beginning. But if I have -1, I am counting from the back, from the end. So the last character of my name is what is taken and appended or added to this bucket here called name list. It's a kind of collection in Python, right? Like a bucket. That's what we call a list. All right. Then the thing is, there has to be a way of changing the value of this index here. So -1, the last one, then the next time we run through the loop again, we need to shift. So from -1, which is the last one, to -2, that is the one before the last, and on and on and on, like that. So -1, -2, progressing leftwards. So there has to be a way. How do I do that now? Guys, I'm going to take character from back, and I will take out, I'm going to take 1 from -1, which is the default, the beginning value there, character from back. So I will take 1 from -1, that gives me -2. And that's what I will keep doing. Next time we arrive at this point, we take 1 again from -2, it becomes -3. And that's the way, we can see the progress it is making, even though it's in an anti-clockwise direction. So to do that, I will just say plus equal 1. That's it. So -1, sorry, this is going to be minus here, minus. So that's it now, guys. Minus equal there means whatever I have at this point, which is character from back, take 1, reduce it, just by 1. So I get a new value for character from back. So I started out as -1, and each time I get to this point, I'll take 1 out. So -1, -1, that's -2, -2, -1, -3, -3, -1, each time it gets to this point in the loop. So we need to, do that. Then the next thing again, guys, we will remain in this loop if there isn't a way of incrementing the counter, that is increasing it, so that every time it gets to this point, it is 1, it increases by 1, so from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. It has to be a way of increasing the value of counter by 1 for every cycle. So I'm going to take counter. I'm going to take counter and add 1 to it. So we don't remain in the loop forever. So first time counter is 1, it takes the last character. Next time it comes again, add 1 to 1, counter becomes 2. And say, for example, if the length of the name is, say, 5, so I can go from 1, counter is 1 the first time, 1 is less than or equal to 5, yes. It goes again, counter is 2, so it satisfies the condition. Counter is 3, still correct, still true. Counter is 4, still correct. Counter is 5. Remember, we are taking the length of the name to be 5. So the 5th time counter is 5, so counter is less than or equal to 5. That's true. And then it comes again, adds 1 to 5, then counter is now 6. You see, counter is no longer less than or equal to 5. The loop breaks. So that's it. It ends there. The condition is no longer satisfied. So it has to be a way of incrementing the counter. Then the next thing, guys, we're going to do now is to let's print out. Let us print the content of the name list. See what we have there. I am going to move leftwards this time. So where we are not at the hierarchy now is going to change again to that top level, the while level. Print. Now the print method is what you use to, say, output something to the console, okay, or the terminal. So let's just see print name list. So I'm going to print that bucket. Let's see what it holds. I'll run this program. Enter your first and last name. So I can say Ade Ahmed. You see, guys, so ADE space AHMED, Ade Ahmed. But I want a string. I don't need the list because whatever is in a list is enclosed in a pair of square brackets. So I just need the name as a combination of strings. So I'll just convert the list to string this way. we're not going to use any separator. It's just going to be nothing. The separator will be set to nothing. And I'll join the content of the list with the join method. Do we see now? Right, to make it readable, so let me just create a new variable for that. List to string. and just have it as dot join. That's a method, a string method called join, and that's used to convert, say, a list to string. And it will take one argument. Now let us get it, guys. Methods need certain, they need information to work with. They need data to work with, right? Rather, let me not call it information, say data. So methods need data to work with. You need to give it that data that it needs within the parentheses of the method. So if I want to add a number, I need to give the method the number. So that number, say for example 2, so that I can say get the square of 2 as what the method should do. So I need to feed it 2, then it works with the 2 to give me 4. How do I give it the 2? You put the 2 within the parentheses of the method. So that 2, for example, is called an argument. It's called an argument, guys, right? So let's get that. I would give this the argument for this join method is the list that I want to convert to string, and that's it. So afterwards, I'll print list to string. Okay, so let's see. Enter your first name. I'll say Bola John. All right, so we have our string there, BOLAJOHN. So that's how we've been able to solve this problem. We'll continue. There are so many questions. So I'll be using different videos to solve different problems. The problems we'll be solving, there are so many of them. I should share, just a moment, guys. Let me share my screen and then show us the problems we'll be attempting in subsequent videos. All right, so we see, guys, so many problems here. So if you're a school or an ICT teacher, you will find this quite useful. Write a program, write a Python program to count the number of times, and so on and so forth. All right, thank you, guys. I hope we learned something from this. Have a nice day and see you in the next video.